My $800 billion project will light up Africa and build a world of pride and power, showing Africa can lead with sound strength in the heart of West. Africa, nestled among vast deserts and rugged landscapes, lies Burkina Faso, a small-landlocked country that has long been overlooked on the global stage. For decades, this nation struggled with poverty, limited resources, and a lack of basic services like electricity and clean water. Many of its people lived in rural villages where darkness fell at sunset, leaving homes without light, tools, without power, and hospitals unable to operate life-saving equipment. But today, Burkina Faso is rewriting its story with an extraordinary $800 billion hydroelectric project that could transform not just the country, but the entire continent of Africa. This ambitious initiative, led by the visionary Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is more than just a plan to generate electricity. It's a bold declaration of independence, a beacon of hope, and a blueprint for a brighter future. The world is watching in awe as this small nation dares to dream big, proving that Africa can take control of its own destiny and lead the way in innovation, self-reliance, and progress. The scale of this project is staggering, with an $800 billion price tag. It's one of the largest infrastructure initiatives ever undertaken, not just in Africa, but anywhere in the world. Critics initially scoffed, calling it impossible for a country like Burkina Faso, with its modest economy and history of challenges, to pull off such a massive endeavor. But Captain Traoré, a young and determined leader, saw things differently. He believed that Burkina Faso's rivers nurtured working people, and its untapped potential could be harnessed to create something extraordinary. His vision is to build a network of 11 dams along the Mon River, connected to a smart electric grid that will deliver clean, renewable power to 15 West African countries. This isn't just about lighting homes, it's about powering schools, hospitals, factories, and farms, creating millions of jobs and building a future where every African has the tools to succeed. As workers pour concrete, install turbines, and lay thousands of miles of cables, the dream is becoming reality. And Burkina Faso is emerging as a leader in a new era for Africa. This project is a symbol of hope and defiance. For too long, African nations have been seen as dependent on foreign aid, their resources exploited by others while their people struggled. Traoré's plan challenges that narrative by partnering with emerging economies like Cuba, Iran, and Brazil instead of relying on Western powers, showing that Africa can choose its own path and build its own future. The $800 billion project is a statement that Burkina Faso and Africa as a whole doesn't need saviors, it needs opportunities, infrastructure, and the chance to shine as the dams rise and the lights come on. Burkina Faso is proving that even a small nation can achieve greatness when it dares to dream big. To fully appreciate the significance of this project, we need to understand Burkina Faso's past. Once known as Upper Volta, the country gained independence from France in 1960, but freedom didn't bring prosperity. The land is mostly dry, with vast stretches of desert and savanna where rainfall is scarce. Farming, which employs most of the population, has always been challenging due to unpredictable weather and limited access to water. Many people lived in poverty, struggling to afford food, clean water, or basic healthcare. Electricity was a luxury reserved for a small percentage of the population, mostly in cities like Ouagadougou and Babadou Lasso. Even their power outages were a daily frustration, shutting down business essentials and homes without warning. In rural areas, the situation was even worse. Villages had no electricity at all, forcing families to rely on candles, kerosene lamps, or firewood for light and cooking. These methods were expensive, dangerous, and bad for the environment, trotting smoke that harmed health and contributed to deforestation. Children couldn't study at night, limiting their education and opportunities. Hospitals in rural areas struggled to keep medicines cold or run basic equipment, putting lives at risk. For example, a doctor in a remote clinic might have to perform surgery by candlelight, or a family might lose a loved one because a ventilator couldn't run without power. These challenges weren't just inconveniences, they were barriers to progress, keeping Burkina Faso and its people from reaching their full potential. Politically, Burkina Faso faced its share of struggles. The country went through periods of instability, with coups and changes in leadership that made it hard to build a strong economy. Foreign aid helped keep the country afloat, but it often came with conditions that limited Burkina Faso's freedom. For instance, Aid might require the country to buy oil or equipment from specific nations, keeping it dependent on outsiders. This created a cycle where Burkina Faso could never fully control its own future. By the time Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power in 2022, after a military coup, many people were frustrated. They wanted change, and Traoré promised to deliver it. He saw electricity as the key to unlocking Burkina Faso's potential, not just for his country, but for all of West Africa. His $800 billion hydroelectric project was born from this belief, a daring plan to break free from the past and build a future where every citizen could thrive. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's not your typical leader, young, determined, and fiercely patriotic. He came to power with a clear goal to make Burkina Faso strong, independent, and prosperous. Unlike previous leaders who relied heavily on foreign aid, Traoré wanted to use Burkina Faso's own resources to solve its problems. He looked at the Mohun River, one of the country's largest waters, and saw an opportunity. Reshape long been a source of power, from ancient water mills to modern hydroelectric dams. Traoré believed that by harnessing the Mohun's flow, Burkina Faso could generate enough electricity to transform not just his country, but the entire region. The plan was breathtaking, and its scope, an $800 billion project to build 11 massive dams along the Mohun River, connected to a smart electric grid that would deliver power to 15 West African countries. This wasn't just about building one or two dams. It was about creating a network of infrastructure that would work together to produce equity and reliable energy. The dams would generate electricity by using the force of the river's water to spin giant turbines, which would then send power through cables to cities, towns, and villages across the region. The grid would be smart, meaning it would use advanced technology to make sure electricity went where it was needed most without waste or interruptions. The price tag of $800 billion raised eyebrows around the world. Many critics said it was too expensive, too risky, and too ambitious for a country like Burkina Faso, which has a small economy compared to global powers. Some even laughed at the idea, calling it a pipe dream. But Traoré was undeterred. He saw the project as an investment in the future, not just for Burkina Faso, but for millions of people across West Africa. He believed that access to electricity was a right, not a privilege, and he was determined to make it a reality. Instead of turning to Western countries for help, he reached out to emerging economies like Cuba, Iran, Brazil, who sent engineers, architects, and technicians to work alongside Burkina Faso's own workers. These partnerships were a bold statement. Africa could choose its own allies and build its own future without relying on same powers that had exploited its resources for centuries. The heart of the $800 billion project is the network of 11 dams along the Mohun River. These dams are engineering marvels, each one a massive structure made of thousands of concrete and steel building themes. No small task. The Mohun River flows through Burkina Faso's rugged terrain where the land is rocky and dry. Workers must blast through stone-level ground and pour concrete foundations strong enough to hold back millions of gallons of water. The dams are designed to withstand floods, droughts, and other natural challenges, ensuring they can produce electricity for decades to come. Each dam is carefully planned to work as part of a larger system. The 11 dams are spaced along the river to maximize the amount of power they can generate. Water flows from one dam to the next, spinning turbines at each stop. These turbines are like giant fans powered by the force of water that create electricity. The dams are also equipped with spillway sand gates to control the water's flow, preventing floods during the rainy season and saving water during the dry season. This careful design ensures that dams can produce power year-round, even in Burkina Faso's unpredictable climate. The construction process is a massive effort that involves thousands of workers, heavy machinery, and cutting-edge technology. Bulldozers clear the land, cranes lift steel beams, and trucks deliver tons of concrete. Local workers are being trained to operate complex equipment, install turbines, and maintain the dams. This is creating a new generation of skilled workers who are proud to be part of something historic. Dams are more than just structures. They are a symbol of what Burkina Faso can achieve when it comes together with a shared purpose. While the dams are the backbone of the project, the smart electric grid is its brain. This grid is like a giant web that will carry electricity from the Mohun River dams to 15 West African countries. From landlocked nations like Niger and Malito, coastal powerhouses like Nigeria and Senegal, it's not just a network off wires, it's a high-tech system that uses artificial intelligence AI to manage power in real time, making sure every home, school, and factory gets the electricity it needs. The grid is designed to be smart and efficient. For example, if a city in Ghana needs more power during the day to run its factories, the grid can send extra electricity there. If a village in Togo needs light at night for students to study, the grid makes sure it's available. The AI system balances the load, preventing blackouts and reducing waste. Grid also includes solar panels as a backup, so if one part of the system fails, the power keeps flowing. This is a huge improvement over the old unreliable grids that left people in the dark for hours or even days at a time. The grid will transform daily life in West African rural areas. Families will have lighting their homes for the first time, allowing children to read and study after dark. Hospitals will be able to run life-saving equipment like ventilators and X-ray machines without relying on noisy, expensive generators. Businesses will have the power they need to grow, from small shops using digital payment taps to large factories producing goods for export. For example, a trader in a market in Senegal will be able to use a smartphone to sell goods online without worrying about losing power. A farmer in Mali will be able to run irrigation pumps to water crops even during the dry season. This grid is turning electricity from a luxury into a right, giving millions of people the tools to improve their lives. The grid is set to be fully operational by 2030, but parts of it are already coming online in some villages. Lights are shining for the first time and people are celebrating. Business planning to expand, knowing they'll have reliable power across West Africa. The grid is creating a sense of feasibility, showing people what's possible when energy is no longer a barrier. One of the most exciting parts of the $800 billion project is the jobs it's creating. Already over 1.5 million people in Burkina Faso are working on the project, and that number is growing. These jobs cover a wide range of skills, from pouring concrete and welding, steel to designing turbines and programming. Smart grid workers are learning new trades, earning steady incomes and supporting their families. For many, this is their first chance to be part of something bigger than themselves, something that will change their country's future. Captain Traoré made a deliberate choice to prioritize local workers. Instead of hiring foreign companies to do all the work, he focused on training Burkina Faso's own people. This has created a sense of pride and ownership across the country. Young men and women who once felt they had no future in Burkina Faso are now become engineers, technicians, and managers. For example, a young woman who once worked as a street vendor might now be operating a crane at a dam site. A young man who left for Europe to find work might return to program the AI systems for the smart grid. These stories are happening all over Burkina Faso. As people see new opportunities opening up, the project is also attracting international companies, as more than 40 green technology firms have set up offices near the dams, bringing new ideas and innovations. These companies are working on renewable energy solutions like solar panels and wind turbines that could make Burkina Faso a global leader in clean energy. Some are even calling the area around dams the Silicon Valley of African energy because of all the technology and innovation happening there. These companies are hiring local workers, creating even more jobs and opportunities. The project's impact goes beyond construction and technology. Themes are powering new irrigation systems that allow farmers to grow crops year-round. In the past, Burkina Faso's dry climate made farming difficult, with droughts ruining harvests and leaving families hungry. Now, with electricity torn water pumps, farmers are growing high-quality crops like mangoes, tomatoes, and rice. These crops are being sold not just in local markets but in faraway places like Dubai and Europe. This is creating new income for families and turning Burkina Faso into an agricultural powerhouse. The $800 billion project is not just building dams, it's building a new economy and a new future for millions of people. The $800 billion project is doing more than just providing electricity. It's sparking an economic revolution. Every dam built, every cable laid, and every turbine installed is an opportunity for Burkina Faso and its neighbors to grow stronger. Jobs created by the project are giving people money to spend, which helps local businesses Like shops, restaurants, and markets, as more people have jobs, the economy gets stronger and new businesses can open. From small startups to larger factories, the project is also transforming other industries. The new irrigation systems powered by the dams are making farming more productive. Farmers can now grow crops even during the dry season, producing enough food to feed their families and sell the surplus. For example, a farmer in Burkina Faso region might now grow tomatoes to supply markets in Nigeria or Ghana. This extra income is helping families build better homes, send their children to school, and invest in their communities. The country is also exporting crops to international markets, bringing in foreign currency that can be used to build schools, hospitals, and roads. The economic benefits are spreading beyond Burkina Faso as the smart grid connects 15 West African countries. It's helping businesses across region grow. Factories in Ghana can run without worrying about power outages, allowing them to produce goods like clothing or electronics for export. Markets in Nigeria are buzzing with traders using digital apps to sell their products. Thanks to reliable electricity, schools in Mali are getting computers and internet access, giving students the tools to learn and compete in a global economy. This is creating a ripple effect where one country's success lifts up its neighbors. The project is also attracting investors from around the world. Companies see the potential of West Africa's new energy hub and want to be part of it. They're setting up office, hiring local workers, and bringing new technology to the region. For example, a tech company might open a factory to build solar panels, creating hundreds of jobs. A logistics firm might invest in trucks to transport crops from Burkina Faso to coastal ports. This influx of investment is creating even more opportunities, not just for Burkina Faso but for all of West Africa. The $800 billion project is turning the region into a center of innovation, growth, and prosperity. When Captain Traoré first announced the $800 billion project, many in the West didn't take it seriously. They thought a small, poor country like Burkina Faso couldn't afford or manage a massive undertaking. Some even mocked the idea, saying it was too ambitious. But as the dams rise and the grid takes shape, the world is starting to pay attention, and some are even a little worried. Countries like China, Russia, and India are eager to work with Burkina Faso. They see the country as a serious partner with a bold vision. China has offered to invest in satellite energy labs to develop new technology. Esris is sending engineers to help build the dams. India is negotiating access to the grid to power its own growing economy. These partnerships show that Burkina Faso is no longer seen as a charity case. It's a leader in the global energy market. Meanwhile, Western countries who once ignored Burkina Faso are now scrambling to get involved. They realize that Africa's energy future is being shaped without them, and they don't want to miss out. Europe in particular is interested in Burkina Faso's clean energy, with the world moving away from fossil fuels. Countries are looking for reliable sources of renewable power. Burkina Faso's dams could eventually supply electricity to North Africa and even Europe through a proposed $20 billion extension under the Sahara Desert. This will make Burkina Faso a major player in the global energy economy, something no one expected. From a small landlocked nation, this project is also a powerful statement of independence. For centuries, Africa's resources were exploited by colonial powers, leaving its people with little to show for it. Traoré's vision is about breaking that cycle. Every watt of electricity generated by the dams is a step toward self-sufficiency. Every contract signed with emerging economies is a rejection of the old system where Africa was seen as a source of raw materials for others. Burkina Faso is now negotiating from a position of strength, choosing its partners and setting its sound terms. The world can't ignore this shift. It's a geopolitical earthquake that's changing how Africa is seen and respected. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's $800 billion project is more than just a plan to build dams and power lines. It's a legacy that will shape Africa for generations. Traoré didn't launch this project to impress foreign leaders or win awards. He did it to restore dignity to his people, to light up their homes, and to give them the tools to achieve their dreams. He did it to show the world that Africa is not a continent to be pied, but a continent to be admired. In 10 years, Burkina Faso will be unrecognizable. The dams and smart grid will power high-speed trains that connect cities, making travel faster and easier. Green cities with modern buildings and clean energy will rise, creating new opportunities for businesses and families. Digital schools with computers and internet access will give students the skills to compete in a global economy. New industries, like a vertical farming where crops are grown in tall buildings to save space, will provide food and jobs. Young people will have the chance to become engineers and entrepreneurs, all because of the foundation being built today. This project is also inspiring other African countries. Nations like Mia, Togo, and Sierra Leone are watching Burkina Faso's success and creating their own energy plans. They see what's possible when a country dares to dream big and work hard. Traoré's vision is spreading, creating a movement across the continent. Africa is no longer waiting for others to solve its problems. It's solving them itself with its own leaders, workers, and ideas. $800 billion hydroelectric project is just the beginning as themes are completed and the grid expands west. Africa is becoming a connected, powerful region. Electricity is becoming a right, not a luxury for millions of people. Villages that once lived in darkness are now full of light. Businesses that once struggled are now growing. Young people who once felt they had no future are now building one. This is a revolution not just of energy, but of hope, possibility, and pride. Burkina Faso is showing the world that Africa doesn't need permission to succeed. It's building its own future, 1 megawatt at a time. If this story inspires you, share it with others. Tell the world about Burkina Faso's incredible journey from a forgotten nation to a global leader. As turbines spin and the lights come, an only thing is clear: Africa's future is bright, and it's being built by Africans for Africans.